Aloha, my name is Tulasi Adeva Perrin from Intentional Life Design. I wanted to tell you about something that really resonated for a client of mine this week. And it made me realize that maybe this is something that a lot of people are sort of challenged with. And so here we go. What we were looking at and talking about was the awareness of what's going on inside. And sometimes we can look at and ask the questions, how are you feeling? And that question, how are you feeling, or what do you feel, can almost be a little bit of a paralyzer. It sort of puts this deer in the headlights a little bit, because the question can almost feel so big. What does that mean? What does it actually mean? What am I feeling? And do I really want to feel what I'm feeling? Because what Pandora's box does that open? So sometimes we create a barrier in response to that question, how are you feeling, or what are you feeling, because it feels too big. Now, one of the ways that we break this down, particularly in the work that I'm doing and inviting people into, is to pay attention to the nuance, the layers of what is happening inside. The language of sensation is really what I'm interested in, because it's in the language of sensation. That's how your body's communicating with you about what's happening. It's communicating with you about where you're holding tension. It's communicating with you about where you feel open. It's communicating with you about tiredness, about hunger. Some of these clues and cues we're good at paying attention to, and many of them we are not. And so widening our awareness and our capacity to recognize the clues and cues and sensory messages that are coming through widens our ability to respond to our deep, true needs. Now, if we're looking at how we're feeling or what the feeling is or where the feeling is, we might get a little bit tripped up because we want to start to make it mean something. We want to start to have a story for our emotions. We want to have a reason for why we feel a certain way. Now, one of the reasons that I like focusing on the language of sensation is that sensation is its own value. It provides its own pathway of intelligence if we're willing to follow it. We don't have to do anything with it. We simply get to be with it, get to experience it, get to let it reveal itself to us. If you've ever been in a yoga class with me, or if you haven't, one of the things I like to say is that it's a conversation with our body. And so many of us don't know how to be in an honest and authentic conversation with our body. We can be aggressive to our bodies. We override its messages. We push where maybe it's better to release and relax. Maybe it's better to rest. We have rules about how we get to experience pleasure. And so, and we don't always know what our body's saying. We think that, oh, I've got to go further. I've got to make this happen, or I've got to be here. And again, here we are in all of these stories that are running how we're moving, rather than allowing ourselves to drop into something that's already here, that's already happening, and let that reveal what's next. We're not good at this because we want to control, or we want to know what's next. We want to have a plan. We want to feel safe. And sometimes it can feel unsafe to not know. But there's a certain kind of intimacy and a certain kind of trust that gets developed when we start to pay attention bit by bit to the sensations that we can stay with, and see what that reveals to us, about how we are in any given moment. So as a takeaway, maybe something for you to consider is, can you start to pay attention, one, to the conversation that you have with your body and how that conversation goes? Is it reciprocal? Is there a giving and receiving? Is there a listening and a responsiveness between your brain and your body? Which, of course, your brain is part of your body, that thinking place versus that sensing place. And two, can you begin to notice sensation with a little bit more detail? When does tension show up? What does tension actually mean for you or feel like for you? When you feel excitement, what is actually happening in your body? What sensations are there? When relaxation is taking place, what sensations let you know that you're relaxed? So maybe that creates a more interesting exploration and conversation for you going forward. I know that it was helpful for my client, and hopefully it's helpful for you too. Thank you for being here and being you. It matters. You matter. Until next time, aloha.